Yo, what's going on? Welcome back to Friar Talk. It's been a while since we've been on. It's been a while since we live streamed, but definitely happy to be back. You see the smile on my face. I'm pretty happy to be talking Padres baseball right now. Um, ever since we've talked, I mean, the Padres are still winning a decent amount of baseball games, a good amount of baseball games. Um, we obviously it's I think we're 7 games. It's an 18 game stretch in a row, something like that. But 7 games on the road. And the Padres go 4-3, man. I mean, I'm pretty happy with that. You look at guys that are hot right now. Luis Arias is hot, batting over 400 over the last week or so, over 350, I believe, over the last 15 games. Manny Machado over 1,000 OPS in his last 30 games. Jackson Merrill over a 900 OPS in his last 30 games, I believe. Those three guys have been carrying the Padres offense. Specifically, Manny Machado and Jackson Merrill have been two of the main guys in the offense that have kept the Padres in games and helped the Padres get these wins as of late. Over the past month, I want to say, ever since June 19th, the Padres have the best record in baseball. 41-21, I believe, is what it is. 20 games over 500 during that stretch. And you're looking at a team that is making a lot of noise as of late. Right there with the Diamondbacks for the 4th seed in the playoffs. I'm not sure if getting the division's really within reach. But at worst, you're hoping for a home series against the Diamondbacks in San Diego, and you're hoping that, I mean, truthfully, I'd be there, and I know that series would be insane. It'd be a lot of fun, and I'm hoping that that's going to be the case. But overall, man, I've had a lot of fun watching the Padres, and I think I've seen a lot of panic from fans because I think a lot of people are scared that they're going to collapse again, and I will say truly, I believe they will not collapse again. I don't think that's in the realm of possibilities. I don't think that's going to happen. You guys, for the people who are scared that the collapse is going to happen again, it's a much different team. It's not the same team. That 2021 team, truthfully, if we look back, it wasn't that good of a team. The lineup wasn't as good as this one. Not only was the lineup not as good as this one, but this lineup also is going to get back Fernando Tatis Jr. anytime soon. It's going to get back Ha-Seong Kim anytime soon. Luis Campusano is going to be replaced by Elias Diaz. And I know off the top, it doesn't really sound like it's that much of an upgrade, but go look at Luis Campusano's baseball savant and tell me it's not that much of an upgrade because, I mean, truthfully, at worst, Elias Diaz is going to be the same player, if not better than Luis Campusano. And it sucks because we had a lot of hope for Luis Campusano, but, truthfully, he's one of the worst defensive catchers in baseball, and he hasn't been providing you much at the plate. So I'm happy with the additions that the Padres are getting back, and even the guys that they've added. They added Nick Ahmed today. Of course, I brought up Diaz, but again, man, it's a completely different team than the team that collapsed in 2021. This team's not going to start Jake Arrieta and Vince Velasquez in key games in September. They're not going to do that. They're starting, instead of doing that, they're getting back one of their aces in Yu Darvish. Michael King's pitching great. Dylan Cease is pitching great. Joe Musgrove is throwing solid. I mean, this is a team that honestly is much better than that one. So I think the fears of a collapse aren't justified. I don't think we have to worry about that whatsoever. It's a good team, man. It's a really good team, and we're looking at hopefully 90 wins. I'm not sure they're going to get there, but if they get to 90 wins, you're almost looking at a team that's for sure going to be playing at home in the first wild card series. I didn't get to watch the game yesterday. I know it wasn't a good one. I was preparing for a fantasy football draft. It's the busiest weekend when it comes to fantasy football draft. Season starts next week, so I was focused on that. But today, I watched a decent amount of it, and I was happy with what I saw from. I mean, Manny Machado comes up in a clutch situation and gets the runner over to third on a single, and then Xander Bogaerts scores them to make the score 4-3. So really, it was a great game today. Outside of one inning where Jason Adam unfortunately didn't look as good as he normally does. Outside of one inning, it was a fantastic game from the Padres. And even that first game was really good too. Xander Bogaerts went yard. Manny Machado had himself a good day. I'm pretty sure a lot of them had themselves a good day. But Devin, I mean, personally, the easy answer is I want the division. Now I've talked about this with a few people, and it's kind of hard because you always want the division, but at the same time, you're saying the teams that win the division, historically these past few years have not gone on to win the World Series. And I don't know if it's because they're not hot going into that series or what it is, but the division isn't looking likely anymore, like Aaron Swan said. But personally, I want the division. I think the idea of a first round bye is nice, to get guys healthy, to get guys like you, Darvish and Musgrove ramped up. But you're hoping they're ramped up by October, by the time of the wild card series, because Diamondbacks Padres first wild card series is going to be, if that's the case, it's going to be insane. Um, and unfortunately, that's not the team you want to run into in the first round. But I also feel like the Padres aren't the team you want to run into in the first round either. So um, that would be a battle of two heavyweights, and then right after that, you'd have to go and face the next heavyweight in the LA Dodgers. So um, I mean, it's a lot of fun, man. It's a lot of fun watching the Padres right now. And coming up is a series against, I'm trying to remember, it's the Tigers. So they're going to be playing the Tigers. I'm not sure if they're going to face Scooble, but right now the only locked in pitcher I believe is Joe Musgrove, who will be pitching, I want to say tomorrow, and then the rest are to be announced. So right now we're looking at maybe you Darvish, maybe Martin Perez. We don't know. Maybe Michael King, but either way, you're looking at a pitching rotation that's solid from top to bottom. You're not excited to see Martin Perez, but realistically, he's been pitching pretty solid for the Padres. Um, I mean, the worst start of the year, in my opinion, came yesterday from Randy Vasquez. Um, he just didn't look good, and that's not what you want to see from someone that you traded a star for. But at the end of the day, it's fine. He's young. We've seen him have some good starts. Of course, he's had some bad ones, but that's just, that's the roller coaster of a young pitcher, right? You're gonna get those good starts, you're gonna get those bad starts. Not everyone can be Paul Skeens. So um yeah, man. I mean, I'm happy with what I'm seeing right now. Let me know if you guys want to talk about anyone specifically, or what you guys want to talk about specifically. It doesn't have to be baseball. Um, but you're looking at the lineup from top to bottom. Arias has gotten hot recently. Arias is, I believe, batting over 400 in his past 7 games. On top of that, it's not just singles. He has over an 800 OPS during that span as well. And over the past 15, it's pretty close to an 800 OPS. And that's the Luis Arias that you were seeing when he won the batting title in Miami. Because recently the rise we were seeing, yeah, he was still batting over 300, but it was in the low 700s for OPS, and that means he's just hitting singles. And I mean, there's value to that. That's the type of player he is, and that's completely fine. But you know, being that having a guy at the top of the lineup that can hit for a little bit of power is super useful. So that's where Rise has been excelling lately. Um, Jerks and Profar. So when you're looking at guys that are hot and guys that are not hot at the plate, it's unfortunate. You knew he'd come down to earth eventually, but he's still been clutch. I'm not going to take anything away from Jerks and Profar. He's having a magnificent season, and a bad month is not going to dictate his entire year where he's been a damn good baseball player. But um, over the past 7 games, he's been struggling. Jerkson Profar has I believe, a .045 batting average in his past 7 games, and over the past month, I believe he has under 700 OPS. So he's been struggling, but that's okay. I fully expect Jerkson Profar, when he has a little more lineup protection, maybe when he gets Tatis back and slides down in the lineup or stays in the same spot. I'm not sure, but I'm sure you're going to get a guy that you got earlier in the season, and it's okay. I'd rather him get cold now than get cold later in the season going into the playoffs. And that's kind of where I'm scared, is that the Padres are hot right now, but I want them to be hot going into October as well. But yeah, man, overall, I mean, you're happy with what you got in the 7-game stretch. I mean, I know it wasn't ideal when you win the first 2 games against the Cardinals and then you lose the next 2. Ideally, you'd win an extra 1 there, but it's all right. I know the weather over there was pretty hectic. And then going to Tampa Bay, I mean, Tampa Bay is a snooze fest, man. I feel like I've never heard anyone say they like playing in Tampa Bay. Not a lot of fans go there. They're kind of like one of those forgotten teams, even though they're good. I mean, they're good almost every year because they have a really good analytic team and all this kind of stuff, and they're competitive, but it's just not somewhere that you desire to play. And so going from St. Louis to Tampa and still getting 4 wins out of 7 games, you're pretty happy with that result. Devin also asked, do you like the closer coming in non-safe situations? I mean, honestly, I don't. I'm not a big fan of a closer coming in non-safe situations, but when you have a bullpen like the Padres do, where you can throw in a guy like Suarez, Scott, Adam, Estrada, Reynolds if he comes back up, Peralta's going to come back up soon, Morihone. I mean, you got bullpen options everywhere. In the farm system, on the major league roster right now, you have so many options in your bullpen. Yuki Matsui, um, I think his last outing wasn't that great, but he's been a lot better lately. So when you have that many bullpen arms to rely on to come out of the bullpen, and you're saying like, we're up by 4, but we really want to win this game, or we really need to win this game. Let's throw Morahone in there. Um, Ideally, you don't want to throw Suarez in a non-save situation. I feel like he's been throwing a lot, and we talked about it recently. Kevin Acee asked a question: how are you monitoring, these innings? Why are they throwing so much? And truly, the answer is because they're in a lot of safe situations, man. They're in a lot of high leverage situations. So, in cases like that, because I mean, we haven't seen a lot of games where the Padres were in a non-safe situation. But ideally, if they are in a non-safe situation, you would like someone like Matsui, Estrada, um, Reynolds, someone like that to come in and do mop up. And that's no offense to them. It's just that we have so many good bullpen arms that those are the guys that you could see in a mop up role. Um, you also asked, Peralta's been rock solid. Do you want Nando to take most reps at right? Yeah, I mean, I think it makes the most sense if I think we gotta realize Fernando's probably gonna be a full-time outfielder, and that's okay. Um, Because I mean, I was just thinking right now, maybe he can play some short, but I don't think it's realistic that he's going to slide back to short even for just a few games while Ha-Seong Kim comes back as well. But ideally, he's going to be playing right field, and it's unfortunate because Peralta has been really, really good. But honestly, it's a good problem to have, right? You're looking at a DH spot. You're looking at guys that come off the bench and provide you some value. I mean, Peralta and Solano are fantastic guys to have off the bench. Tyler Wade's a good guy to have off the bench when it comes to pinch running situations. Um, Truthfully, and we've talked in depth about this. This is the deepest team that AJ Preller has built, and a lot of credit to him because I think last year the problem for the Padres was it just wasn't a very deep roster. Um, and then this, 2022, the year that they ended up having a really good season, a successful season, I would say, that was a very deep roster from top to bottom. Good bullpen. Unfortunately, the pitching was a little shaky at the end. That's kind of what cost the Padres in the end, not being able to throw a reliable number 4. But that was a deep roster, man. Bullpen was solid. You got Darvish, Snell, and Musgrove up there were twirling gems. Lineup was solid. I mean, truthfully, everywhere the team was good. 2021, you didn't have a deep team, so I think the key here is the Padres have depth. Depth they've not had in years. Sorry about that. Depth they've not had in years where they've had losing seasons. They haven't now, and they were able to afford an injury to Fernando Tatis Jr., where Fernando Tatis goes down for a long period of time. David Peralta slots in and does really good work, right? I'm sorry if you hear the barking. It's pretty loud. But yeah, and they do solid work, right? So even Solano slots in for a guy like Jake Cronenworth, or Rise gets hurt. I mean, from top to bottom, man, you're getting really good production from some of these guys. So I'm really happy to see what the Padres have right now. I see, Matthew, you're talking about you, Darvish, and how you'd rather get the 4th seed than the division. I mean, I think worst case scenario for me is the 4th seed. I want to get the 4th seed. I want to see the playoffs in San Diego. I want the Padres to play a 3-game series in San Diego. I think it'd be a lot of fun. And we know the Padres have some of the best fans in all of baseball. It's super fun to watch Padres baseball at Petco Park right now. And I think it'd be a perfect playoff environment. And I think the Padres would excel at Petco Park. But again, we've seen the Padres excel in a lot of situations, away or home. So it's a very resilient team, man. It's such a fun team to watch. As far as you Darvish goes, who knows how long that ramp up period is going to take? I know he's been throwing. I want to say he's been throwing at the complex league. I'm not sure where he's been throwing, but point is he's been throwing. And when he does make a start, ideally you'd want to see him go 4 or 5 innings, and then they can bring in Hoeing to do some mop-up work, right? Or to give you a long outing or long reliever. Come in as a long reliever, hopefully give you a combined 7 between Hoeing and Darvish. If not, 6 and a third, 6 and 2/3, and you're happy, right? But it was a really good it's really nice to see that Yu Darvish is gonna be coming back. I didn't think he was gonna come back until September, so I'm happy to see him. I mean, I guess it is September now. He hasn't made his first start, but I didn't think I'd see him back in the clubhouse until like mid-September, end of September, going into the playoffs. So super happy to see that Yu Darvish is coming back. Do you think Waldron ever comes back? I mean, that's a great question. Um, really, it's a tale of two seasons for Matt Waldron, right? He had a 7-game stretch where he was under a 3 ERA, one of the best pitchers in baseball at the time. During that 7-game stretch, maybe the best pitcher in the Padres rotation, right there with Michael King. Um, Next 7 starts, he gets roughed up, man. It's a tale of two seasons for Matt Waldron. So right now, I mean, he's not going to beat out Yu Darvish. He's not going to beat out Musgrove. Not going to beat out King. Not going to beat out um, who am I missing? Dylan Cease. He's not going to beat out any of those guys. So when you're looking at the 5th starter spot, you're thinking, who's going to slot in there? Martin Perez isn't throwing very bad right now. I mean, he's keeping you in ball games. Matt Waldron, can he be that guy that he was over that 7-game stretch? And you don't need him to be that. You need him to be like a 3.5 to 4 ERA guy. But that's not what he was over his last 7 games. So what Waldron are you going to slot into that 5th spot, right? So truthfully, if I'm looking at the Padres roster, I would personally say Waldron should come back. I think he has a chance to come back and slot into that 5th starter role. You can't really rely on him out of the bullpen because it's going to sound weird, but every first inning is the first inning is his worst inning. Statistically, that is his worst inning. I believe he has like a 4+ ERA in the first inning. So if you're throwing him in the bullpen, he's only throwing 1 inning and those numbers stay the same, you're not really getting anything out of him. So there's no point in really throwing him in the bullpen. So if he's going to come back, he's going to come back as a starter, but that's going to take a significant decline from Martin Perez and or Randy Vasquez to not have Matt Waldron come back. And Randy Vasquez is already on the start with that because he didn't have a great start. Blake Snell is expected to opt out of his Giants contract. Would you want Snell? I mean, that's an obvious yes. I mean, he fits the team so perfectly, man. And I see Iron Swan. You said he can come back on a team friendly. I think team friendlies. It's not what really happens nowadays. So I mean, you're looking at a guy that's probably going to make around 20-25 million again next year in Blake Snell. And I want to say he signed for like 30. I don't really remember what he signed for with the Giants, but I would take less to go play somewhere else than the Giants because the Giants really aren't that good. They're not in a good situation. They're not a good team. They don't have a future. So truthfully, I think Blake Snell's best chance would be to come back to San Diego. He loved it here. We loved him here. I'd love Blake Snell back. You think Tatis is going to return this week? He needs reps before heading to the playoffs. I think next week would be perfect for Tatis to come back, right? I mean, right now you're looking at the thing with Tatis right now is that you want him to be 100% healthy. I think he's one of those players where you don't really need him to go down to the minors and get rehab games or anything like that. Same sense that Mookie is, right? Mookie came back, didn't play any rehab games. They just slotted him right into the lineup. I think Fernando's that type of player. So when Fernando comes back, man, he's got to be 100%, at least close to it, because you're not gonna sacrifice Fernando just because, right? You're not in the thick. You're not like desperate for wins right now. You're winning a lot of games with David Peralta. David Peralta's having, and it sounds weird, I know, because you want Fernando out there, but David Peralta's winning or is helping us win a lot of ball games right now. He's doing really well. So when Fernando comes back, he has to be 100%, or else I don't think it's worth it. I mean, just considering that he's our young superstar, you know, he's in our future plans. You want him to be 100% healthy going in, but ideally he's back by, let's say, September 15th. Let's say mid-September. Hopefully he's back by then. He would have around 20-30 games. I think it's 20 to get into playoff form and get ready for October. So I think that's perfect for Fernando. Iron Swan says, I feel like Waldron can work in the offseason, come back as a starter again next year. I mean, that might be his best bet, honestly, because this is a good rotation right now. He's not going to make the playoff rotation, honestly. Michael King, Musgrove, Darvish, Cease, obviously they're all better than him, and I don't know if I'd really want him in a reliever role. Now, with that being said, If not hoeing, then Waldron can come in as a long reliever if we're getting our asses whooped at any point in the playoffs. But ideally, that's not what you want. Waldron right now seems like a guy who really needs Vasquez or Perez to fail in order for him to get another chance this season. Um, I don't know if you have talked about it, but how do we feel about Robert Suarez right now? Um, I mean, he's one of the best closers in baseball. I'll tell you that. The guy throws 100 with the movement. The outing was a little shaky today. It got a little scary at one point, but truthfully, man, anytime I see Robert Suarez coming in, I feel pretty safe. He's only blown 3 saves out of, I believe, over 30 opportunities. Um, I feel safe when Robert Suarez comes in, man. Even if he's just throwing a fastball, it's one of the best fastballs in the game. It has good run. It's 100 miles per hour. Right now, I'm feeling really good every time I see Suarez come up. And I mean, shoot, anyone out of the bullpen, man. You're looking at Morahone and you're confident. Adam, you're confident. Um, Tanner Scott, of course, you're confident. Robert Suarez, Estrada, Reynolds, Hoeing. I mean, you're feeling good. And all the guys coming out of the bullpen right now, man. This is a deep bullpen. I would go as far as to say, if not the best bullpen in baseball, it's a top 3 bullpen in baseball. But I firmly believe this is the best bullpen in baseball. Kim and you will be back next week. Toddy will be back the following week along with Waldron. Yeah, I think Kim will probably be back next week. I think you will also pitch in this Tiger series. Um, Perfect timing, right? I know the Padres have been getting. It's been a struggle at shortstop, right? Mason McCoy and Tyler Wade. It hasn't been fun watching those guys at shortstop. No offense to them. I know they're not supposed to put up major league production, but having the glove of Ha-Seong Kim at shortstop, when you don't have it there, you really notice a difference, right? Like you really notice, oh man, like Mason McCoy and Tyler Wade, their defense doesn't even compare. It's not a close comparison to Ha-Seong Kim. So having Ha-Seong Kim's glove back at shortstop is going to be huge when he does come back. I know the bat's not great right now, but you're hoping that Kim, when he is healthy, starts to heat up at the plate. I think that'd be a huge addition for the Padres if he heats up at the plate, because the glove is there, man, but the bat just hasn't been there throughout the season. Um, let's see. Waldron's struggle self-induced or more like batters figured him out? That's a great question. I think it's I don't want to say it's a combination of both, because he did what he had to do. He needed to throw that knuckleball more. The fastball isn't a very dominant pitch. His knuckleball is his best pitch, and he threw it more throughout his outings. But also, when you throw it so much and teams get all this film on you, teams recognize your pitch pattern and the movement on your knuckleball. Of course, it's going to get easier to hit. So I want to say it's a combination of both, man. That's why it's so hard to be a starting pitcher in the league, especially a young one, because when you get figured out, and it's hard to figure it out during the season. You only have a few days to go back out there and figure it out. So I want to say the batters figured him out. I will say the batters figuring him out, because I think he kind of stuck around the zone. He wasn't walking a lot of guys. It's just the batters started hitting him, man. And I think the main thing was that Matt Waldron would come out the gate having a bad outing. You knew what kind of outing he would have after his first inning or second inning. So it just wasn't. You weren't getting good outings out of him. So sending him down had to happen. It's unfortunate, but you're hoping that he's back next year, or he's back at the end of the year pitching the way that he was earlier. Merrill, 20 years, 1 billion might be a steal. Hey, man, Jackson Merrill is one of the most clutch players I've ever seen. It's getting talked about a lot on social media, on MLB Network, whatever it is. Jackson Merrill is a superstar. Amazing love in the outfield. You feel like you haven't skipped a beat going from Trent Grisham to Jackson Merrill, defensive wise, but from Trent Grisham to Jackson Merrill hitting wise is a night and day difference, man. I mean, Jackson Merrill went deep today. I believe the rookie home run record for the Padres is 27. You're looking at a guy that's at 23 right now. He's 21 years old. This feels, I know the numbers as far as OPS goes, and no, he has more home runs than Fernando did. As far as OPS goes, I know it's not the same, but this feels pretty damn close to Fernando's rookie season. It was electrifying, man. It was so much fun to watch. And in this sense, it is so much fun to watch Jackson Merrill right now. Because even when he's having a bad game, that's the guy I want up at the plate when it's a one-run ball game down to our last out. That is the guy I want at the plate over a guy like Manny Machado, Xander Bogaerts, Jurickson Profar. I want Jackson Merrill at the plate because he's been so clutch and he's been so good in those situations. There's guys that just live for those situations, man. There's guys that are built to be in that situation, and Jackson Merrill is definitely that. Let's see. Any other questions? Jason Adams is low-key the best piece. Jason Adam is damn good. And I know he didn't have a very good outing today, but Jason Adam, it was a damn good addition to a bullpen that really needed to be revamped at the trade deadline, right? It was tough before that, and you saw the Padres would lose games because they didn't have a deep bullpen. Suarez was throwing a lot of innings. Estrada was throwing a lot of innings. Morihone was throwing a lot of innings because guys like Peralta, Enyo De Los Santos, Yuki Matsui, they were not reliable out of the pen. So what does AJ Preller do? He adds one of the best relievers in baseball in Tanner Scott. He adds another really damn good reliever in Jason Adam. Peralta's going to come back soon. Yuki Matsui has had a little bit of a revamp. Sean Reynolds, I don't know if you guys have checked his baseball savant. He doesn't qualify for quite a bit of things, but Sean Reynolds' baseball savant, if he did qualify, it is damn good. Sean Reynolds is damn good, and I think he needs to be on the major league roster. Alec Jacob down in the minors, he just came up. He's also a good piece. The Padres have so many bullpen options that you feel safe almost with any of them that come out. I mean, it's honestly insane how good the Padres bullpen is. So when the time comes to the playoffs, man, you feel comfortable if you know the starters can give you 5 or 6 because the bullpen's going to come in and they're going to shut it down. Would I say Manny's the best third baseman? I would say Manny Machado over the past month or 2, maybe even 3, has been, if not the best third baseman in baseball, a top 3 third baseman in baseball. I think the best third baseman in baseball is Jose Ramirez. I will live and die on that hill because I've believed that for a little while now, at least at the plate. But, man, Manny has been fantastic at the plate. People saying his glove's falling off a little bit, and, hey, maybe you're seeing little glimpses of it, but Manny's glove falling off a little bit is still damn good and a lot better than most of the guys in the league. So what we've seen from Manny Machado is just vintage Manny Machado, man. A guy that's been living up to his contract over the past 3 months. And I know he's still under an 800 OPS, but over 1,000 OPS in the past 30 games. I mean, especially when you're missing a guy like Fernando and you need a star to step up. Stars, this is what stars do, man. Stars step up when your team needs them. And that's what Manny Machado is doing right now. You're back to a point where you're confident with Manny at the plate, because last season, I don't know what was going on. I know he had an elbow issue, and then going into this season, he was still having pain in that elbow, or he was still feeling a little wonky in that elbow, but now he looks 100% healthy. And I know he's been quoted to say that the elbow's still bothering him a little bit, but the production does not show that it's bothering him at all. So super happy with what you're seeing from Manny right now. Kim will come back hungry. Will Campy be replaced with Elias Diaz? It's a great question. I don't know if the Padres are going to carry 3 catchers or not. I don't think it's necessary to carry 3 catchers, but the Padres have shown that for some reason they're not going to give up on Luis Campusano just yet. So I think it is much more likely that Elias Diaz replaces Campy than they carry 3 catchers, but do not be surprised if the Padres elect to carry 3 catchers, because Campy, I mean, it's a weird tale with Campy, right? It's a weird story. Going into this year, you were super happy to have him. Obviously, the Padres felt confident in him to be the lead guy, to the point where, you know, they let Gary Sanchez walk. They got Higgy, but Higgy was just going to be the backup guy. They were confident that Luis Campusano was going to be their starting catcher and be damn good at it. Now you're in September, and he's still under 700 OPS, whereas in the last 2 months last year, when he came back from injury, he was over an 800 OPS. He was one of the best hitters on the team last year, over the last 2 months. And you're going into this year now, and you're looking at his baseball savant. It's mostly blue. The only thing he doesn't do, he doesn't strike out a lot, which is great. But everything else, man, he's one of the worst defensive catchers in the league. He's not a good hitter. Meanwhile, a guy like Higgy is hitting the laces off the ball right now. I mean, he's clutch. He's come up for you in a lot of good situations and come up clutch. He's hitting for power, even if he strikes out a decent amount, Higgy's been a much better option at the plate, and I will say even defensively than Luis Campusano has. And Elias Diaz has an all-star game on his resume, man. So really, the odd man out, if you're looking at a two-man catcher spot catching, at a, you guys know what I'm trying to say. If you're looking at a roster with two catchers, right now, to me, it feels like the odd man out is Luis Campusano. Now, if there's three, I won't be surprised, but the odd man out is Luis Campusano. Let's see. Are we going to carry? Oh, I guess I just answered this question. Are we going to carry three catchers? I think we should, as Higgy and Diaz make great pinch hitters. Yeah, I mean, it makes sense, man. I mean, the better the bench, the better the odds are for the Padres to go deep in the playoffs, right? I think, as I've said it before, depth goes a long way in the playoffs, and depth is super important. So if they want to carry three catchers, I won't be surprised, but it's going to take a total like resurgence from Luis Campusano in order for me to feel happy about carrying three catchers, because Diaz and Higgy have shown that they're probably better major league hitters at this point than Luis Campusano. Let's see. Campy for Crochet. I think it's fair to say we're disappointed in how Campy is performing. Do you think the front office will fast track Salas at some point, or would that be too soon? I think the Padres are already fast tracking Ethan Salas. You've seen him move him up as far as, I think he's gone up to Double-A as before he's even 20 years old. I think, he's coming up really fast. It's going to be sooner rather than later that you see Salas at the major league level. I want to say within the next 2 years, I expect him to be at the major league level. By the time he's 20, 21, he's going to be a major league catcher. And it's harsh. It's an unfortunate reality because young catchers have a hard time most of the time, unless you're like Adley Rutschman or something like that. But Salas has the hype. He has the talent. He is one of the best prospects in baseball. People have gone as far to say he's one of the best catching prospects over the past 10, 20 years. So, yes, I do think the Padres are in a position to fast-track Ethan Salas. Higgy's not going to be around for a long time. Higgy might not even be this good next year. Elias Diaz, I don't know how long he's around. I don't think he's around for very long. And Luis Campusano has shown that up to this point, he's not a very good catcher, and he's probably not a starting major league catcher. I think he'd be a solid backup option, but right now you're looking at Luis Campusano being just that, a backup option. It doesn't seem like he's going to be a starter in the league for the foreseeable future. And that's no offense to him. I really like Luis Campusano. I think when he's on, he's one of the best hitters on this team. But the problem is he's very inconsistent, and I don't even want to say very inconsistent because he hasn't shown that the bat is good other than at the beginning of the season. So ever since then, it's been it's gone downhill for Luis Campusano. Let's see, non-baseball related question, but what is your expectations for the Chargers? I don't. It's tough to talk about the Chargers on the stream because I know a lot of San Diego fans don't like the Chargers. But real quick, I mean, I think they can win 8-9 games. I think that's realistic. I think Jim Harbaugh is a good addition for the Chargers, and I think a lot of people are sleeping on Justin Herbert to be able to take this offense to different levels. And that's all I'll say for now. But on Sunday, if we do go live on Sunday before the NFL games, we will absolutely talk some football. But for now, I'll talk Chargers. If you have fantasy football questions, I'll talk about those too. But yeah, man, I mean, Matthew, I see you talking about Higgy. Higgy's having a fantastic season. And you look at that Juan Soto trade and you're kind of stunned that he ended up being the second best guy. As of right now, he ended up being the second best guy in that trade. For those of you who didn't see, Drew Thorpe, who was one of the key pieces in that Juan Soto trade, Drew Thorpe is undergoing season-ending elbow surgery, I believe it is. I don't know if it's Tommy John. It sounds like it's Tommy John. But a key piece in the trade goes down. Michael King is pitching fantastic right now. You're hoping Johnny Brito and Randy Vasquez end up being something for you. So that trade, it gets a lot of discussion, and it deserves a lot of discussion, man. I mean, it's one of the biggest trades the Padres have made. It's one of the biggest trades the Padres have made where they didn't end up acquiring the star. They ended up giving away the star. So that's going to be a huge discussion from us for the foreseeable future. And right now, you know, unfortunate for Drew Thorpe. Um, but yeah, hopefully he gets better, man. I thought he was a really good prospect, but Michael King's producing right now. Higgy's producing right now. You've gotten some good outings from Vasquez, and you hope Johnny Brito ends up being solid. What's good with Hoeing? Hoeing is good, man. I mean, in a starter role, hold on, give me 1 second. In a starter role, he hasn't been that good in the past. Um, but 1 sec. But dude, out of the bullpen, this dude has been an animal. I mean, every time, you know, especially with Musgrove coming back and having to only throw 5 innings, 4 innings, whatever it is, kind of um ramping back up to a starter threshold where he could throw 6, 7 innings. Dude, Hoeing has come in and he's kept the Padres in games, if not helped them win the game because he's been so good. Um, and I don't know if he's a guy that you can slot in the rotation next year, but if he's pitching like this, that's absolutely a guy that you're going to be seeing in a discussion for the fifth spot in the rotation, because he's been that good, man. He's been amazing, good stuff. Keeps the Padres in games, keeps the bullpen fresh. I'm telling you guys, like these are the guys that need to be discussed more and deserve talk when it comes to who's the most valuable player for the Padres. It's a guy like Brian Hoeing who keeps the bullpen fresh, comes in after a starter and throws 2 or 3 innings. Guys, that is a mega valuable role, and that's where Hoeing comes in. So it's been fantastic, seeing Hoeing come out and help this team to the extent that he has. Alfredo Diaz says, "I wish they would move Xander back to shortstop." And I think when Ha-Seong Kim got hurt, I felt the same way. I understand wanting to keep guys in their position because that's going to be their main position, but Tyler Wade and Mason McCoy, I think that's his name, they don't move the needle for me. So realistically, the defense would have been Arias, Cronenworth, Xander, Manny. But I guess I understand Schilt's point of view. Regardless, they're winning games. I'm about to log off right now. If you guys have any other questions, send them really quick. I'll try and answer them. Otherwise, you can send them to us on Twitter, and we'll try our best to answer your questions. But overall, man, very happy with what we're seeing from the Padres. I know some people are scared about a collapse. We all have PTSD. I know that, but it's not that big of a deal. You're not gonna win. You're not gonna go 20 games above 500 over a 6-game period for multiple times. It's hard. Baseball is a hard game. There's a lot of good teams out there. The Padres have been playing some great baseball. You got to be happy that they're 20 games over 500 over their last 61. Super good that they've super awesome that they've been playing so good, because at one point they were 500 until they went on this stretch where they're now one of the best teams in baseball. Random, but how crazy for the Padres to beat the Dodgers in the postseason off Joe Kelly. I can see it, man. I mean, I think a lot of people kind of don't really understand that the Padres are. It's weird for me to say because I'm gonna sound absurd. I think the Padres are better built for the postseason than the Dodgers are. Um, Padres bullpen's better than the Dodgers. Padres starting rotation's better than the Dodgers, and their lineup matches up perfect against the Dodgers. I think that'd be an electric playoff series. I think it'd be a lot closer of a series than the last one against the Dodgers was, because the Padres took 3 or 4 from them in a gentleman's sweep. But I think the Padres are geared to make a run in the playoffs. Like I said, this is the best team AJ Preller has built. It's a playoff caliber roster. It's a team that has depth in the bullpen, depth in the starting rotation, depth in the lineup, good bench pieces. Truly, this is an amazing team that AJ Preller has built. You got to give him a lot of credit for it. But with that being said, I'm going to go ahead and log off. Thank you guys for joining. We'll try and go live again sometime this week. Our schedules have been conflicting. We're trying our best, but look forward to talking to you guys soon. Thank you for joining.